Because a lot of times people hear this stuff and they'll go, "Well, I don't want to start a business that doesn't work," right? Like they kind of get negative in their minds about it. And I think the idea of what works is much broader than what people think, right? You can start a business and have it not pan out for the actual sake of the business, but the stuff you learn from it and the skills you get and the stories, more particularly, that you can tell from that experience are huge, because that's what you mentioned in your post. You said it can be literally anything, but just do it and really start to get what it means to market something.
Yeah.
And that idea of like, I feel like so many people are disconnected from the value that their job brings to a company. I ask developers all the time, why would a company hire you? And they're like, because they want a developer. And I'm like, but why? Like, what's the business case for this job, right? What is how does marketing actually impact a business? So was that like one of the big takeaways from you, just the marketing process, branding process?
Yeah, that's a really good point. I think it was the bits that come with that. So when you throw yourself into something like creating a business, it's like you say, it's some of those intangibles or those things you can't even predict that you're going to start learning. So it's like, how do you deal with failure? How do you create momentum from nothing? Like for me, that is one of the big things. It's like when I interview people now, there's almost this X factor I'm looking for, which is, can this person create momentum from a point of zero? Um, and when you try and start your own business, you start learning how to do that. And any marketer, in my opinion, sort of needs to be able to do that. Um, I guess you could have been, you could be trained up on a specific niche, like you could be a technical SEO, or you could be this or that, email marketer. But I still think there is that challenge that every business faces, that if you go into that business and say, by the way, I can kickstart momentum from this point of practically nothing. That's really attractive to anybody that wants to hire, I think.
Absolutely. That plays right into point number two, which is the number one skill you will take into marketing is your ability to listen to customers and distill their needs. It is super important. So cherish it and be bullish about it. So how do you typically think about that or approach that in your work?
Well, I guess if you've been a salesperson, you have probably sat in rooms with real human beings sort of way more than most of your peers. I think when I was at Gorkana, I was doing probably something like 8 meetings a week, 8 to 10. I was there 5 years. So I don't know, it's probably somewhere in the region of like 1,000, 500 to 1,000. I can't remember the exact figure. Rooms that I've been in with customers of all sorts, really broad spectrum, from agencies to these FTSE 100, FTSE 250 companies. So I think it's just being good at remembering that. I guess that dynamic is a weird one to try and articulate, because when you sit there as a marketer and suddenly you're behind your desk, you've got to remember to break out of this space that I'm in now and go out and speak to people. It's funny that I'd say the one thing that unified, like every good month I've ever had here at Bonjoro in the last 4 years since we've been going, the one thing that I can always point back to is I've spoken to lots of people. And it's a funny thing. So I think as a marketer, don't forget that your job still is to just speak to people and create momentum that way. And salespeople are really good at that. So if you're a salesperson thinking, how can I be good at marketing? You've already got it. You've already got that thing where you lean forward and you go and get on the phone, or you create partnership opportunities by just speaking to other marketers in the space, or you're on a WhatsApp group with other marketers, all these sorts of things where you're having conversations and listening and learning. That stuff is really important.
Yeah, and it really does help, because when you're in that marketing role, sometimes you get a little detached from the outcomes of the product. I know when I was in advertising marketing, you spend all day putting stuff out into the world, and all you get back are maybe some spreadsheets with some numbers on them, and you kind of lose touch with that person on the other end. And so it's really cool that you're putting yourself in positions to really engage.